Is our good friend back at the desk with us. It is Cheri Schmit from Medicap Pharmacy. It's time for some great advice from our friends at Medicap Pharmacy, and this is very timely since was it Sunday? I was out in the sun a little bit and I burned the top of my dome.
Because you have new exposure.
Yeah. I exposed this to the sun before, and I was surprised how little time I was outside.
How quickly. Yeah. Well, and all of us, none of us have seen the sun. None of our body parts, because it hasn't been very nice. So we tend to burn a little bit more easily earlier on in the year. So,
but you have some things that we can do about that.
Yeah, I do. So I thought we'd kind of talk about the skin today since it's summertime. So we'd start with sunscreen. So I think we have a graphic about it, but we're just going to talk about the different kinds of sunscreen and what you should use and how you should apply it. So the first thing is like how to choose one. You stand there and there's all these different choices. I usually recommend a product of at least an SPF of 15, and what that means is that you can stay in the sun 15 times longer than you could without any sunscreen at all.
Oh, and how long is that?
And that's different for every person, so depends on your skin and all of that. And also depends on how you apply it, which we'll talk about in a little bit. The other thing is that you want to look for something that has both UVA and UVB protection. Some of the sunscreens only protect for one, so you want to make sure that it says broad spectrum, and you can look for active ingredients like zinc oxide, titanium dioxide, and anything that ends in benzone. So.
You want those? You want those,
yes. Yep, because that will cover for UVA and UVB. And the UVA you can actually get like through a window. So if you're driving your car, those rays can actually come through the window, and you'll see people get sunburnt through their window. So.
Wow.
A lot of times you're seeing like a plus with the SPFs now. Are those important? Do those mean anything? You know,
a lot of times those just add extra ingredients, and they may make the product more. Have other things in it that maybe are for your skin and things like that, but as far as like their benefits for protection, I don't think there's any difference.
Usually just repackaged house paint. Apply that.
Perfect.
Keeps the sun away.
So I think we have a next graphic. So we talked about the water resistant too. So if you're going to be swimming or sweating, and then make sure you read the label to see how often you need to reapply it. So if you're going to be in the sun or swimming or sweating, most of those are only water resistant for a certain amount of time. And the biggest thing is kind of what you were talking about, Jackie, is like, there's all these different kinds. Find one that you like using. So, if the spray is cold, sometimes kids don't like the spray because it's cold, or, if something's greasy, find one that you like. Dermatologists often recommend creams for the face and gels for hairy areas. And then don't forget about your lips, which I did bring, like a lip sunscreen. And then the tops of the ears and like the head, the head, like you were talking about, in the scalp area.
Your scalp yarmulke. Yeah.
And then replace it frequently. So the FDA requires them to be good for 3 years if they're stored appropriately. So that means in a cool spot out of the sun, out of direct sunlight, which that's not where most of us keep our sunscreen. So we keep it with us, it's in your car, it's in your bag sitting at a baseball game out in the sun. So they tend to expire more frequently. So we usually tell people just replace it every year.
When you're young, you kind of blow all this off, but I'm telling you, and I'm sure you guys
we're all learning our lessons now.
Because when I get in I can see the damage that it's done. And I'm sure all of you at home can as well, but it really is something you should take seriously.
Well, it's one of those things I feel because we don't see the sun as often, if we've gone through a harsh winter or whatnot, we feel pasty and white, and we're like, oh, I need sun, I need to get out there immediately. And it's like, I don't care, one time is fine, but you really need to protect yourself.
Right. And they do make now some really nice self-tanning creams and sprays and things that can give you the tan look without the sun damage. So, you can rub them on, spray them on.
And you mentioned the lips. I burned my lower lip pretty badly on Ragbri once because I'm an idiot. And it took me, I got like a precancerous spot on my lip, and it took 4 or 5 years to get rid of it. And it ended up being a cortisone shot, which was horribly painful, and basically just shaving it off. So you really need to remember to use that stuff.
You needed some of this right here, Jess.
Yes, I did.
Now, a lot of people are sensitive to what's used in typical sunscreen, or they might have an allergy to it. Do you have recommendations for people that might be allergic?
A lot of times the Neutrogena products are good for people with allergies. They tend to have like the least amount of extra things in them, so those are usually good. Otherwise, if you've been to a dermatologist and been tested to see what you're allergic to, then you can read the labels and look for that ingredient and avoid it. PABA, P-A-B-A, used to be used in sunscreens a lot. It's not very much anymore, but the reason it was kind of taken out is a lot of people were sensitive to it.
Okay, good to know. Yeah, they've made extreme advances, because being oily, the last thing I wanted to do was put extra cream on my face, but you can find some really nice things that don't feel like you're wearing any.
And you don't have to spend a lot of money. That's why I bought this generic one, and it's quite a bit cheaper. Same ingredients in it. It's just maybe the formula that it's in.
And this is the mist that you just spray on?
Yeah, just spray on. Okay. Yeah.
I love that.
This one is new. I wanted to show this one. Get it over this way.
There you go.
This is, remember the zinc? Like you used to see the lifeguards with the white nose and stuff?
Reporters did that too.
This is clear zinc, so it's the same thing. It's zinc. It's supposed to act like a barrier, exactly the same, but it goes on clear. So it might be nice for the tops of ears, like, you know, the part area of your hair, those types of things.
Nice. Yeah. And it's clear, so you don't have a bunch of white.
Right.
That's good.
All over.
So
there you go, Lou. That's what you need.
And then the biggest thing is applying it. Most people, about half of the people, don't use enough sunscreen. So the correct amount of sunscreen is actually, they say, a golf ball size or enough to fill a shot glass.
That's a lot.
That's a lot.
Sunscreen.
That's a lot.
That's for your whole bottle.
That's for your whole body.
Okay.
Yeah. So if you think about it, they say a teaspoon to the face and the scalp, a teaspoon to each arm, 2 teaspoons to torso, 2 to each leg. So, that's actually. Like I said, if you have to keep in mind too, if you're not applying enough, it's not going to work as well, and you'll need to reapply more frequently.
And I think that's another key too. People don't realize they need to reapply it every couple hours.
Correct. Right. Yeah. Reapply it.
Figure once and done, not necessarily the case.
Right.
Right. Especially if you're making a day of being outside.
Right.
Okay.
Yeah.
Now, okay, keep going. I'm sorry.
That's okay. So then I thought the next thing we'd talk about, since we're kind of talking about summer stuff, is we get a lot of questions about rashes in the pharmacy in the summertime. And one of the most common ones is poison ivy. And I think we have a picture.
Ooh, that's what it does to you.
It's terrible. So the best way to avoid poison ivy is obviously to avoid the plant and to know what it looks like. But the other thing is, sometimes you're out working and you're gardening and you're not looking at every single plant you're pulling. So just kind of when you get in, making sure that you take off your clothes, shower, wash your hands, wash your clothing, wash your tools, anything that you're working with. But if all that fails and you get poison ivy, there's a product here that I brought in called Zanfel. It actually works very well. So I won't say it's like a cure-all. It's still better not to get poison ivy. But what this does is you put it on your skin, on wet skin, and work it into a paste. And it absorbs that oil that comes from the plant, which the oil is what causes the blistering and the itching and all of that, and helps kind of draw that out and wash it away. So it'll help with the itching. It still can be kind of an oozy rash, so it might still sometimes be itchy. So you may still want to treat that, which can be done with like a Benadryl itch stick, which can also work for bug bites. Yeah. And then these Dombro, this is an astringent solution. So if you have a weepy rash of any kind, it's a powder you mix with water and put cold compresses on it, and it will kind of dry it up.
Really?
So,
Haven't heard of that before.
Weepy rash.
Yeah, so if you have like blisters that are kind of, the
Really?
seeping out of it.
Never heard of that.
Never heard of that before. Okay, so let's say, unfortunately, you're out in the sun and you did get a bit of a burn. Is there ways of soothing that as well?
Yes. So the first thing you'd want to do is treat it just like any other burn. So we want to get the heat out of it. So cold compresses or, laying cold towels on it. I don't know if you've ever had a bad burn before or not, but you can lay like a cold cloth on it and then pick it up, and it's hot, so bring it out, get more cold water. So pulling all the heat out, staying hydrated. You can use things like aloe vera gel, even keeping that in the refrigerator so that it's cool, things like that. But what you don't want to do is hold the heat in. So try not to hold the heat in. But that's about the only thing. Tylenol, ibuprofen, things like that for the pain.
Okay.
So,
You have some other things on your
then
left screen, right?
Last thing is kind of bug bites that we see. We see lots of bug bites in the summertime. So I brought in a few different things. The most effective product is DEET that's on the market. And 30% is safe for most of your family members. So I think it's ages 2 months and up, although I would question using it on a 6-month-old.
Yeah.
But, for sure, like your toddlers and your family, that would be safe. And again, you really don't want to spray it on skin. You want to spray it on clothing and not directly on their skin. Then if you don't want to use DEET, there's a product. This product I have, it has picaridin in it, which is a little bit safer than DEET. Also tends to cause a little less skin reactions if you would happen to get it on it. This is just one brand of it. And works as well as DEET, but doesn't last quite as long, so maybe need to apply it a little bit more frequently. And then lastly, these are some kind of new cool things. These are little, it's kind of like tape or bands.
A slap bracelet?
Slap bracelet.
Yes, really. The 80s have returned.
And it's made with citronella oil.
I love that. How much is that?
This is $4.39.
That is highway
want
robbery.
one.
Oh, that's a great idea.
I want one. That is brilliant.
Works for short amount of time, so an hour or two usually will work pretty well to repel. So if you're going to be outside, you know, maybe for a barbecue or just for a short period of time.
You just Wonder Woman the insects away.
There you go.
Give it to the kids. They're just going to be slapping it for
Beautiful.
now.
Now, to find all these products, and of course the generic ones work as well as the
They
brand
do. We
names.
have generics in most of these, so yep.
You can find them at Medicap.
Kind of at Medicap. We have several. You can check us out at Medicap Central Iowa on Facebook and Twitter as well. Stop in and see any of our pharmacists. They'd be happy to look at your rashes and help you figure out what to put on it.
Look at my rash. I'm going to go.
Rash analysis over at Medicap.
Pick out a good sunscreen prevention as well. So.
That's so important this time of year.
Very much.
Well,
Yes.
good to see you again.
Nice to be here.
Thank you.
It is 8:34. We'll be right back. You're watching Great Day Live on KC.